Now, financial wellness, you say that this is the first independent, credible and comprehensive research of its kind. But before we work out how the research goes, financial wellness, it sounds more accessible than the usual stuff we hear about financial services. What is financial wellness?
Our aim is actually to make it more accessible, to actually make something that the consumer can understand and really relate to. So that's why financial wellness really resonates with us. There are so many different definitions of financial wellness, but just to start off with a simple version of it's truly holistic. We're looking across the board. It's not just about what your assets are, what your liabilities are, what your income is. It's about all of those things. And also, how physically healthy are you? And how does your family composition look? Do you have support in your family? What is your social standing? All of those things actually impact your holistic financial wellness.
How would your physical health and your family, how would that affect your financial wellness?
They're actually all very interdependent. Maybe your family as an example. If you lose your job and you have no support structure, your financial wellness will plummet immediately. But if you've got a spouse or parents or an extended family, a brother or a sister that is willing to care for you, give you a place to live, your financial wellness will be a bit more sustainable. So that just is an example of the interdependency of all the different factors in your life. Your physical health. Medical schemes these days can't cover absolutely everything. So if you're physically unhealthy, it also at some point affects your financial health, and maybe you can't do the work you want to do. That type of thing.
Now you've come up with interesting categories: anchored, unwell; anchored, well. Those are the two extremes. One's very good, one's very bad, and then in between, drifting unwell, financially unwell, and drifting well. So what's anchored unwell? You're in trouble.
Anchored unwell basically means you're in very big trouble. Just to start off with the way that we define financial wellness, typically normal wellness is about the absence of disease. So financial wellness is the absence of a financial disease.
Like what?
So you have the financial disease that you may have is that your liabilities exceed your assets. If you've got more liabilities than you've got assets, it's usually a bit of a problem. But we take it to the next level as per my previous discussion. Now, if you are anchored unwell, you actually have quite a big problem, because in no way in your whole lifetime will you be able to get to the point that your assets will exceed your liabilities.
So what would factor in there is what you're earning at the moment, what your prospects are.
Yes.
So if you, let's say for example you're on a fixed income which is not going to improve whatever you do, and your liabilities are huge, there's no way out.
Yes, there is actually no way out. And there's about 5% of the South African population that's there at the moment, that there is absolutely no way out. So it's not about specifically how poor or how rich you are, but what is your capability to actually get yourself out of that bad liability situation.
And it's interesting, you say that you found, having done this, that the level of education in a family, well I suppose it's not surprising, but you found it as a really important factor.
It has a massive impact on your financial wellness status. Even if you've just got a matric versus not having, going up to grade 7, etc., it already enhances your financial wellness status to a large extent. Tertiary education has a big difference in how we can see the financial wellness status of the population going. So if government wants to invest, if private companies want to invest, if institutions want to invest in something, education would be that one thing that will lift that financial wellness status of all South Africans.
I suppose we know this, but you're confirming something with this survey. Now let's look at the other end of the extreme, anchored well. And you say there the household is firmly financially well.
Yes, and the anchored well household will really be able to sustain also adverse things happening in future. That if something happens, like they lose a job or they get disabled or something gets stolen, those types of factors are taken into consideration to make sure that you are anchored well. Maybe that middle section is the section that has got the most.
So this is the drifting unwell, drifting well. Yes.
The two drifting sections. What drifting means is typically that you can either drift into that unwell state or you can drift into that well state.
Yeah.
And this is where
I'm going to have to. We're unfortunately running out. It's a fascinating thing. But how did you get the research for this? Because now you're in a position now to tell us that 5% of households are financially unwell. How did you get this?
It was a 2-year project with UNISA, and UNISA has been working extensively with 3,000 households countrywide and all different segments. So right from the bottom to the top. Extensive discussion groups and getting all that in. They've also used all the other factors, for instance, what's happening with CPI, all the discussions with the Reserve Bank, what's happening in the credit ratings, and how those factors are affecting this. And as we are running out of time, just go to momentum.co.za and you'll get more information in this regard.
Fascinating stuff. Momentum and UNISA have put together this financial wellness index, and I think every individual says, well, where would I fit in on that? So you can go to that website for Momentum and find out.